Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to comment and subscribe.
So hi, welcome to my channel. Um, as usual, my name is Gina Chimesi, Psych APRN. I'm here again with a recording geared towards Mental Health Awareness Month, which is, the month of May. Um, today's focus is going to be a little slightly shifted from my usual. I'm going to do a little bit of talk on children, on kids. I did one video on kids and anxiety. Every now and then I like to throw in something that concerns kids. So today we're going to focus on, children, why they misbehave, anxiety, how they misbehave, and how to handle children's misbehavior or tantrums. And as always, thank you for tuning in to my channel and checking me out. I always say when you whip it in your mind, you can whip it everywhere else in your life. And I also will be referring to my notes because I always come ready with my notes. So if you see me looking down, just checking out to make sure I'm on point with the notes that I have. Um, so why do children misbehave? For the most part, um, children are so smart, and every kid is different, right? Many of times they as they grow, especially from age 3 or 2 3 going, we call it, the terrible twos. It's because kids from that age, they're trying to get their footing, they're trying to get their grounding, they're trying to get their independence, in the family, in the community, or in their social group. So sometimes because they lack the ability to communicate whatever anxiety or fears that they might be experiencing, it might sometimes come off as, a big old tantrum. And sometimes is also a way for them to let us know that they come with different, a whole different template, and really be mindful as parents to not um, temper that template that they come with, and to kind of have that authoritarian, do it my way or no other way kind of approach. Sometimes can eventually, back not work out. I'm trying to find a good word for it, but not work out. Not work out for we as parents, or for us as parents, and also not work out for the child. There's no bad kid. I always say that there is no bad kid, but it's always the environment, is how, the temperament of the child that comes along is handled. So I would say the first thing to really note is, as a parent, I'm saying this not just, professionally, but also as a parent, is a big focus these days on trying to make our kids happy, right? So the big focus is, make the kids happy, and then you're happy child, happy mom, or happy parent. But I'm here to tell you that's just recipe for disaster. Don't focus too much on trying to make your kids happy all the time. Some of the time is good, but all the time becomes overwhelming to you as a parent. You're running around constantly trying to find ways or different things, things, material things, a lot of time end up being, whether it's like over shopping for them, especially in the electronic arena, to just make them happy, so they're, content. But sometimes they're content in the moment, and next thing you know, whatever it is, they leave it off and they run off to something else, or to demand something else. I always say, children are like, snakes. If this is too strong with them, but children are like snakes. If you don't tame them, if you don't tame them, they'll turn around and bite you. bite you. So keep in mind, kids can be like snakes, and you have to try to find ways to tame them, not to make them happy all the time. Start whatever training expectation that you want for them at a, from the get-go, because kids are also, secondly, very, very resilient at the core. But it's how you shape them, how you mold them, how you guide them. So today I'm here to share about 4 to 5 points. And one of them, the first one that I mentioned, is don't overly go above and beyond to try to create a happy child. Children have to feel disappointment from the beginning, because life can be disappointing. If you set the stage of like everything they want is yes, yes, yes. They want this, you say yes. They want that, they want, yeah. They give you a long list for Christmas. You go into it and get all of that, where you're not setting those boundaries, expectations from the get-go, that yeah, maybe you can have it, but based on you meeting whatever expectation, whatever chores that needs to be done first, whatever grades that needs to be met at school first, and then you can earn it. Really making them, having something that makes them happy, be something that they earn, will eventually make them realize that in life you don't just sit there and things just fall on your lap. You have to work towards it. Really having that work ethic to get things to make you happy. Then that way, they will value, whatever it is you're parting onto them in terms of, material things. Because even myself personally, there are times where, maybe on the weekends, want to have time with the kids, but sometimes I rather take them to like a park or a place where there's activities that we can do, maybe the beach, especially when the weather is nice, rather than going to like a shopping place like a Target or, the mall. Before you know it, they want this, they want that, they want this. You come out as a parent feeling guilty, feeling like, oh my God, what just happened? You fed into this. Personally, even when I'm going like grocery shopping, sometimes I try not to take the kiddos, because sometimes, you go in there, they want this snack, they want that snack, and it end up just being a collection at home, or in the cabinet, or in their closet, and they don't even utilize it. For really setting the standard from the get-go of not creating a child where you're always looking at making them happy. Balancing really being permissive parent with being a parent of authority is also another point to bring across, because sometimes just being the authoritarian parent in the long term affect kids' self-esteem. Like, parents who go like, it's my way or no other way. There's no discussion. There's no explaining to the kid, what's the rationale behind what they're being told to do or not to do, because all we say, yeah, I told you not to do that. And, because kids will say, but why? But why, daddy? But why, mommy? And because, as parents, maybe you're tired, you had a long day. It's like, yeah, I'm just saying, don't do it because mommy says so, or because daddy says so. But, like I said, kids are very resilient. They're very smart. They come with their own template, with their own blueprint. And in order to maybe really be fluid and mold them, just like the potter, you're molding the, whatever, material that you're trying to mold, at the end result, what you're looking to create, you're shaping and you're molding, and alongside you let go of a little bit, you answer some questions, you're really present in the moment, and really finding a way to be very permissive, where like it's not everything goes like yes, 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 just to one, shut them up, two, to not create any kind of tension or cause a tantrum to the kid. So you just go along with whatever, they want ice cream in the morning, so you don't want to have a big tantrum, so you let it go. You're rushing to go to school or to go to church on a weekend, and because you just want to get going, you just give in. And because once you have kids, it's like, forget about just everything being structured and being on time. Really, as a parent, being very flexible in your mindset, where you got to be able to create those avenues to have, times where there's delays, where things don't go the way you plan it, will make it easier for you and easier for the child as well. Also, third point is rules are so important. Having rules for kids is crucial, is critical. Kids look up to us for rules, for guidance. They crave it. So if you don't have rules, and whatever just goes, you're setting the stage to create a snake, who's going to, like I said from the beginning, who's going to bite you. So there are times where sometimes I have, found that, not just from my own experience, but from research, that when you create rules, but they're pretty flexible rules, like sometimes my kid might say to me, for example, Mom, I'm coming back, or, can I play with my friend? And they say, hey, what time should I come back, from my playtime from the neighbor's house? And I before I used to say, hey, in 1 hour, you need to be back. And sometimes, within an hour, they're not back. I'm stressing, like, why are they not back? And you're going back and forth. But I found from researching and then implementing this myself is that when you leave the loopholes a little loose, and you say, hey, especially when they're old enough to make right choices, like from, early teens ongoing, and you give them, the flexibility. Hey, listen, you're going, but use your head and come back at a reasonable time. If you have a good rapport with your child to begin with, they know they're not going to be out there for like hours and hours. They will know to come back at a quote unquote the reasonable time that mommy or daddy is telling them to come. And that's a good test to make sure that your child maturity is, getting to a good place. And once you start setting those stages, if they fail, like let's say you expected time for them, like after 2-3 hours, they didn't come back, really reinforcing and saying, hey, listen, next time, even the mommy says, come at a reasonable time, that doesn't mean 10 hours, right? It means maybe about 2 hours, maybe about 3. So you have to be mindful, maybe set your alarm. So when you're playing, you can be mindful to come back at that time. So then as they get older, they're able to set things up for themselves without always looking up to you as a parent to guide them every single step of the way. Because when kids, we're raising them, but before we know it, they're off to college, and then you're not there to like set curfews for them or timeouts. They're able to slowly, feel things out for themselves. Now, there are also times where, for younger kids, though, like this, what I'm saying is more for like I said, preteen, teenage years. But younger kids, it will still be a good idea, to, if they're playing and it's safe and it's outside or your neighbor's house, to know to come back for them at a very reasonable time, so they are not overly feeling neglected, because those times of molding and attachment times are very important in how kids behave or show up to the world when they're older. The other thing too is to not compare kids. That's a big no. Kids, within your own family, like your own kids, don't compare, because like I said, all kids come in different blueprints. You don't compare, your two daughters, or your two sons, or your son and your daughter, and say, hey, oh, why can't you just be like Larry? Or how can you be just like Abby? Abby will not do that. Oh my God, why is it so difficult to handle? Abby is so easy. When I say this to X, Y, and Z to Abby, she does it, so easy. Why are you so difficult to, things like that bruise kids' ego, bruise their self-esteem. You're constantly criticizing and comparing. Sometimes it's, we don't mean it as parents, but it's good to be mindful and to be present with that, and to make sure, if you think of a word that are coming out of your mouth as a parent, it might be a comparison word towards another child within the family, or even a friend of theirs that maybe comes over or they hang out with a lot, and you're looking at their behavior and saying to yourself, oh my God, why can't you just do it like X, your other friend? Those things set the stage out for kids to have issues, anxiety issues. They don't feel validated at all. They don't find their place. They don't even feel like, do you love them? You love them enough, because they are not showing up to be enough for you. So you're comparing all the time. So that also sometimes sets the stage for a lot of frustration with parent and child, especially those preteen and teen years, where hormones are raging and things can be very different for them. When kids are starting to really find different things with their friends, like peer pressure and things, in at home they're being criticized or compared a lot. Or like kids who, maybe one kid is really into sports, the other kid like cannot care for any of that, but really finding what each kid superpower is. I call it their superpower, and really nurturing that aspect of them without falling into the trap of comparing, making every child look the same, or be the way as a parent you expect, your expectation. So also in that regard, really setting the stage for what your expectation is as a parent, or what your needs that were not met when you were younger, and you're trying to live your old life through them. And so you can be, accidentally, or by not knowing any better, be critical because you want them to go down your path, which can be really hard on a lot of kids. The other thing to also know, that the fourth point is, kids, as whether mother, dad, if mother or father, we don't make them by ourselves, right? It takes a mother, it takes a father to make a child, to make a human being. So even if you're going through difficult times in your relationship with any of the partner in the parenting, whether it's separation, divorce, or whatever it's looking like, children don't ask to be here. They came to us as vessels that we want to nurture them and guide them through the journey of life. But it takes two to tango to make that child. So what I would say, encourage somebody out there, if you're going through a difficult relationship with a partner, with your wife, your ex, or however, custody battle especially can be really tough time for kids. But like I said, it takes both sides, a little bit of dad, a little bit of mom, to make a child whole. So even as you go through maybe a difficult time with your partner as a parent, please, 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 please let that be, and allow your child to have a relationship with the other partner, no matter what will be going on between you two. Really allowing father to put their touch on the child, on guiding the child, as well as you, the mother, also putting your touch on, and finding ways to have discussions around, common goals of raising your kids. Sometimes it's not possible when maybe custody can be a place of really difficult conversation. So even with that, having maybe a mediator to really talk things out and coming to a compromise, especially if kids are split between households, and maybe, father is more authoritarian, mother is less safer, permissive, and the rules change based on where the kids are. Sometimes can be very difficult for the child to grasp and can cause a lot of confusion for them. So really be mindful of that and setting the stage from the get-go when they're younger. So before they're full-blown teenagers or young adults, it doesn't become super difficult for them to cope and have to riddle with a lot of anxiety and even trauma, complex trauma, like little traumas at a time, that can affect kids. Really making that to make sure that kids know that these are the common rule between parents is super important. Now, kids, the final point would say kids need love. Like I said from my first point, not things, not material things, especially not a lot of video games and not a lot of TV time, not a lot of the tablet or not. Sometimes we use those things as babysitters, so TV can be a babysitter for hours while we do our own thing. We tune out as parents. So really being present. I remember one time Gail was being interviewed by Oprah, and I love this thing that she said, and I've been trying to implement that in my life. It's to, like, when your kids, maybe on the weekend, they get down from their bed, they come, maybe you're already awake, you're doing something in the kitchen or whatever other part of the house, and they come and they say hi or whatever, really, or even they don't say hi, you as a parent be mindful to say, oh, hi, hi Larry, I'm saying hi Larry, or whatever name your child is, really knowing that you see them. Kids want to know that you as a parent, as a primary caregiver, that you see them. Kids want to be seen. They want to be loved. They want your presence. They want your attention. Because as parents, you can be present, but not present. You can be there as a parent, but if you checked out emotionally, you're not there. Over the years of, working across, but whether in the medical intensive care, whether in the, OB floor, whether on the med surg, whether on the psych inpatient, acute, whether on the outpatient, whether in my own private practice, I've seen it all. Like over the years, over close to 50 years of experience working as a nurse in different, and seeing in different roles, and seeing, coming in contact with a lot of patients, and really also doing a lot of research on my own. That trauma of, quote unquote, neglect, where you're there, your body is there, you're physically there, but emotionally you're checked out. You just don't feel like being there, and it's just like you're dragging yourself. As a parent, maybe seek help, seek counseling, so you're present, at least guide them through the years so they can get in good grounding, good footing in life before they get off to college or get off out of your house. So, they can feel that attachment, that first few years of attachment for primary caregivers, so critical and important, how children thrive later on in their lives, especially boys too, and maybe girls as well. Over the years, like teenage pregnancy has really, been, brought lower through education, and really making sex education in schools earlier on to make girls aware. Because sometimes that emptiness with girls at home, not really having that primary caregiver attachment and presence and being loved and being seen, they can want to fill that void with going with a boy, and then that's, boys, when they're in their teens, all they're looking for from a teenage girl is, unfortunately, it's, I'm trying to find a good word. It is, the other thing, it's to have not, just friendship, but beyond friendship. And sometimes things can happen where kids can have, can end up having, get pregnant from that, and change the course of their lives completely if they don't have good support. So really having the love, the presence, the acceptance, the teaching. Kids need teaching, kids need guidance, kids need your love, your attention, and not love and attention where it's more materialistic, but it's more your presence, because sometimes it can be hard too as parents. Maybe you're juggling, long hours at work, you're juggling two jobs, the bills got to be paid. So how do you balance that in addition to really looking at the next generation of who your kids, your legacy, who they're going to take over from you, when you're not here anymore, they're going to carry your name. So how do you find that balance? Can you fit into your schedule where you have, some weekends where you're there and fully present with them, and really finding ways to really find that balance and manage it. Really, there's never a perfect balance when you're doing parenting or raising kids. But I urge you, if you're really having trouble finding that balance, which we are always, all of us, including myself, striving to find it, striving to look for that balance, because the scale can never be like this, because always, you're missing one point, it's the other. By continuing to really work on it daily, even sometimes hourly, to really find that good balance. And if you can't on your own, that's why we have people like myself, you have therapists, counselors, pastor of your church to talk to say, hey, I'm really struggling as a parent. Because sometimes even in Sunday school we find that parents get at their wit ends with kids. They're like, here they are, I bring them to Sunday school, teach them, fix them for me. I'm too frustrated right now, I can't take care of this preteen, this teenage, or even kids with maybe some disability, some form of disability, and it becomes very overwhelming because they take time over the other kids who maybe might not have as much struggle as the ones with disability. It becomes very tough for parents. So please don't hesitate, seek help, call, reach out. Help doesn't always have to be, one-on-one. Right now there's a lot of telehealth going on. You can talk over the phone if you're not comfortable talking on video, even researching YouTube channels that have really good support for parents. I really, I personally love Focus on the Family. It's really good resource. Another one is Med Circle. They do a lot of mental health videos pertaining to different things with teenage years, preteen. So check it out. Look for resources in your local community as well. Town halls have a lot of resources. Or go to Psychology Today and reach out for different support groups for parents. Okay, so I'll keep you posted if I start any support groups at all, which I'm thinking about for parents and who are raising preteens and teens. I'll keep you guys posted. But thank you so much. Happy Mental Health Awareness Month. And look out for my video coming up as well on mental health, focusing on women and how we as women, being on the forefront of raising our kids, can take care of ourselves, or can self-care. So thank you so much. Subscribe and hit that notification button so you're made aware of anytime I upload a video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you later.
Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to comment and subscribe.